same as last week. But I've also been trying out Resident Evil 4 on the Oculus, which
Damn.
has been fun.
You
I
liking
hope I
it?
don't hope I still don't have like the lines from wearing the headset. Yeah, it's great. It's I mean, you know that how many times I've played that game before, but so I think that kind of makes it even better in some ways because it's just such like a different way to experience something I've experienced before. But yeah, no, I'm loving it. It's really impressive. Plays really well, um, and yeah, just the sort of different things it has to try and sort of like let you customize your experience and everything is really good, and yeah, really enjoying it.
Are you, as far as the controls go, are you kind of teleporting around? Are you playing around with like the different movement options? I'm not sure what they actually offer you.
Yeah, so I'm not the biggest fan of the whole teleporting thing. I know it helps people who get motion sick, but I don't seem to have that problem yet. But I think, and I've said before, I loved Resident Evil 7 where you still move around with the analog sticks and everything. So yeah, I've been using the move around with the left stick, and it's got that sort of like fixed right stick sort of camera movement as well. If you don't want to have to like keep actually physically turning around, um, so yeah, that's been working well. I think I haven't tried the teleporting yet, but if I start feeling really sick, then I might have to look into that. But the part I've just done where you fight the big fish in the water
Mm.
on the boat, that was that was the closest I've come to feeling a bit ill from it, just because you've got the boat being like dragged in these like different angles, and you're trying
Yeah.
to like aim whilst it's being. So that was a bit of a strange sensation, but yeah, no, I've been really enjoying the sort of they call it locomotion. Is that what they like refer to the setting
Sure.
as?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that feels sort of correct to me. I mean, I haven't tried the teleports; that might feel great too. But I think it's nice being able to like have good control over movement, especially if like you need to back up from enemies and reload and everything like that. Because that's probably the hardest part so far is having to like bolt your rifle after every shot or pump your shotgun or actually reload your weapons is can be quite difficult if there's enemies like closing in on you. So being able to have like that control over your movement is handy in those situations.
Yeah, you mentioned, I totally forgot that we are on the boat fighting the fish. So I can't imagine VR is already nauseating enough, but you add, now we're on a virtual boat moving around. Like that's sounds like a nightmare, but it also could add to how tense that boss battle is. But especially all the footage I've seen is mainly like in the first village when you get in there and they seem to still throw the same amount of enemies at you. And I imagine it's way more tense having them just like bombard you, in a VR, like first person setting. Is it way more tense now playing it?
Yeah, definitely. It makes you a bit more conscious of some of the things that they do to like make it a bit more uneasy as well. Like I've noticed a lot more so when you go to certain areas that enemies will spawn from where you entered the area. So for example, a good example bit is just after you get to the church. So near sort of the fish fight, you sort of go into a swamp and like there's these like little docks and things. And as you sort of get further into there and you start fighting enemies, it just starts sending enemies from the entrance area.
Mm.
So which is horrible in VR where you can like easily look over your shoulder and you see all these enemies coming and you're like, right, I need to like try and back myself into a corner here and sort of try and do that. But yeah, it's definitely interesting to play, and like you said, it does seem like they've only showed areas from the beginning. So I'm really excited to try out, like going to the castle and all these different places that because Resident Evil 4 does have so many different locations and different kind of areas and enemies and things that don't come till later in the game. So I'm really curious to see not just how that is, but also how I react to it, because I've already had a few times where I've sort of jumped out my skin, where an enemy's sort of surprised me from behind, or I've turned around to see an enemy I thought I'd killed or something. So, but yeah, it's really great. I mean, if you're a fan of Resident Evil 4 and just VR games in general, it's a must play.
Yeah, this one has me just really, debating buying a Oculus 2 because, man, I want to play this. And you mentioned, experiencing stuff in a new light, or with some of the stuff coming forward, like in the castle. There's also that boss battle with, is it El Gigante, that huge giant dude? So that in VR has got to be nuts. Although there's that minecart level eventually where you're in the cart, and it's just that part was really hard to remember that. So I wonder how that's going to be physically. You're in the cart too, like in first person. I know in that first village, you have the villagers throwing axes and whatnot at you. You were able to shoot them out of the sky as they throw them. Can you kind of dodge it all? Like, do they take into account like your physical movement, and you can just avoid attacks by physically moving around?
Yeah, you can sort of move out the way of things now, like projectiles and things like that, which is definitely helpful. But yeah, I've sort of noticed that it is maybe because of things like that, it is maybe a little bit easier, and also just the fact that you can actually aim normally without having to worry about the janky like aiming controls of the original. That's quite nice as well. So yeah, there are certain things that the VR adds that maybe makes it a little bit of an easier experience too. But then I'm sure that might be the opposite in certain areas as well. But one thing I wanted to mention as well was, I think this is the only thing I've noticed that they've changed about the game, is that when you're fighting the fish, instead of, because I was actually thinking about that part before I got to it, about how you'd be like throwing harpoons like over shoulder, because I was actually worried I was going to like hit the light or something. But they've actually changed it so you get like a harpoon gun, and you can like put the harpoons like in the end of the barrel when you're on the
Makes
boat.
sense.
So I'm not sure how many other things they've changed, like stop people from smashing things in their house. But but yeah, I've noticed some little changes here and there.
Gotcha. Yeah, I'm not looking forward to hearing the president's daughter whine in my ear in VR. That's part that I'm hoping that will transfer over. But I noticed from watching gameplay again, there's a lot of things that they couldn't replicate in VR, and they just show you it like in almost like a third person kind of view. Like I think when you look into your menu, it's third person, and then when you do some of the action sequences, like when you barrel roll or jump out of a window, it just shows you that animation. How does that feel? Does that kind of take you out of the experience? Do they do that well?
Yeah, I mean it's a little bit jarring at first, but it's not too bad. I think the main problem is that there's like two different versions of it, where if you're doing something like jumping out of a window, or if you kick an enemy, then it'll just like take you out of Leon's eyesight and just do it in like third person. And same with the teleport, I believe. When you teleport, it like zooms out and what shows him running. But then there's some things where if you like if you're watching a cutscene or something like that, it will actually show you like a screen. And it does the same when you're, so if you remember in the original, that there's parts where you have to like smash buttons really quickly, like if you're running from the boulder, or if you get grabbed, or in the fish part you have to swim back to the boat. And again, that bit it sort of puts you in this like strange concrete like cylinder room.
Okay.
And you have to like shake the controllers. So there seems to be like two different ways of showing things that it hasn't incorporated properly, which is a little bit strange, but it's nothing game breaking. And it's understandable because they've already done a huge amount of work to get it playable in this way. And so yeah, it's one of those like understandable things that can be a little bit strange the first time you see it.
Gotcha. Yeah, I've seen some of that going in, watching footage, so I would know that, and be prepared for that, like playing the game. And yeah, it seems like it's something they just have to do. There's the way the cutscenes work, they just can't rework that. And from what I've read, they've built this entire game again in Unreal Engine 4, and it seems like they perfectly replicated the environments and everything that's going on. It's pretty nuts. Yeah, I cannot wait to play this game. It also makes me curious if maybe it's on the books to do an RE2 remake in VR, RE3 remake in VR. That could be really, really cool. That's maybe a more updated work they've done on the engine, on the RE engine, that maybe that could transfer over, even easier. But that'd be absolutely nuts. And I can't wait for that as a possibility.
Yeah. I would no way be able to play that. Yeah, it'd be awesome if that happened. But yeah, I think Resident Evil 4 is like, is the line, because I mean not only because Resident Evil 2 just looks so horrifically like real and like grotesque, but also just that police station, there's just something about it. I wouldn't want to see it so up close and be so immersed in it. That would not be nice.
Yeah, that's true. It's like it's right on that line where I think they match the action and what you're doing to where you're not fully scared the entire time, but yeah, it's a whole nother level when you're in VR.